Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming. We have just had a meeting with the Secretary General, myself, the Ambassador of the Arab League, the Ambassador of Yemen, the DPRs of Morocco, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates, delegated by the group of Arab ambassadors to convey to His Excellency the Secretary General the conclusions and resolutions of the Arab Summit that was held in Tunis and later in Mecca, in which the summit expressed concern over the actions and the behavior of the Islamic Republic of Iran through using its proxies in Yemen, in Lebanon, and elsewhere, and through its own direct involvement in some of the incidents that have taken place in the Gulf recently, in the Arabian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman, all of which threaten peace and security in the region. We have conveyed to the Secretary General the concern of the Arab Summit and the desire on the part of the Arab Summit to make sure that Iran is cautioned against such continued behavior, noting that it would be provocative to the cause of peace, not only in the Arabian Gulf region, but also in the Bab el-Mandeb and the Red Sea area. The Secretary General expressed his understanding and his appreciation for the communication that we had with him. He told us that he was planning to meet with the Foreign Minister of Iran and that he would discuss with him some of these concerns and convey them to him. We had held a meeting 2 days ago with the President of the Security Council, the Ambassador of Peru, and we had conveyed to him the same kind of concerns and asked him to report those to the Security Council, which he promised to do. So we wanted to share this information with you. We'll be happy to take up your questions.
Ambassador, is it time now for diplomacy? And if so, what form should that diplomacy take between the regional countries, the Arab countries like yourself, the US and Iran? And a second question, as you mentioned, Yemen. With regard to Yemen, is it not time to put your money where your mouth is? You heard the comments in the Security Council earlier on today, condemnation of your country and the UAE for making big pledges on Yemen and not coming up with the money.
I reject the statement that you have just made. I think it is improper and a rude statement to put forward in this manner. We in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia have been the largest donor of aid to Yemen. We have spent more than $15 billion since the conflict started, through direct aid, through aid coming to the United Nations, through aid going through special agencies, as well as with direct bilateral support. This year alone, which you are referring to, we had paid more money into Yemen than any of the donors in the world. None of them, none of those members of the Security Council or any other donor has delivered to the United Nations and or to the Yemeni government more aid than what Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates have. So I reject the statement that you need to put your money where your mouth is. No, your statement was the rephrasing, was the phrasing of Mr. Lockock didn't use this expression, which is highly improper. Yes?
Have you given? How much money have you given
We
to
had
the Yemen
we had given this year more than $400 million directly to OCHA, as well as to WFP, as well as to others. I'm sorry?
Ambassador, the question on diplomacy.
The Human Rights Council supporting China putting Muslims in these camps. Saudi Arabia and UAE signed this letter. Your allies, the United States, have condemned these actions, but you seem to be standing behind China.
Once again, nobody can be more concerned about the status of Muslims anywhere in the world than Saudi Arabia and these countries out here. What we have said in that letter is that we support the developmental policies of China that have lifted people out of poverty. Answer to your question on diplomacy, it's always time for diplomacy. We are always ready for diplomacy, but diplomacy needs a common ground. And the common ground is based on international law and based on international conventions, which include non-interference in other countries' affairs. If we establish common ground, there is nothing to stop us from having discussions and communications. We had communications with Iran through the Islamic Summit in Mecca that was held recently. We continue to have continuous communications.
سعادة السفير، المبعوث الدولي أعرب عن تفاؤله بأن الحل السياسي ربما أصبح ممكنا الآن في اليمن، لكن حديثكم اليوم عن إيران لم يشير لإيران. إلى أي مدى تريدون خوض الحرب مع إيران في اليمن؟ ألا تعتقدون أن الوقت قد حان لإنهاء أزمة اليمنيين؟
لا نريد حربا مع إيران في أي مكان، لا في اليمن ولا في غيرها. ونعم، الآن الأوان للأزمة اليمنية أن تنتهي، آن الأوان للحوثيين أن يقبلوا ويسلموا بالقرار 2216 وينهوا احتلالهم غير المشروع للسلطة ومراكز الحكم في اليمن.
That it was seized for smuggling oil in the Gulf. Was it the UAE ship?
UAE? You want to answer that?
Was it owned by the UAE?
I haven't seen the information yet. I've been out, so we will look into the reports and we can answer the question.
And can I talk about freedom of navigation as you know, in light of the
well, we support freedom of navigation. We want to protect freedom of navigation. We think that these incidents that have taken place, for which we believe Iran is responsible, have adversely affected the freedom of navigation.
السفير، سمعنا اليوم إدانات تقريبا من كل أعضاء مجلس الأمن لهذه الاعتداءات من قبل الحوثيين ضد الأهداف المدنية في المملكة العربية السعودية. ماذا تريدون وكيف تريدون لمجلس الأمن أن يأخذ موقفا في اتجاه وقف هذه الاعتداءات؟
نحن نقدر هذه الإدانات ونحترمها ونشكر الدول التي عبرت عنها، ولكن ما نريده هو تطبيق قرارات مجلس الأمن بما في ذلك القرارات التي تدعو إلى فرض الحظر على توريد السلاح للحوثيين. هذه الاعتداءات لم تتم إلا بأسلحة وصلت للحوثيين من إيران وصنعت في إيران. تفضل.
تاريخ المساعدات السعودية والإماراتية لبرنامج الغذاء العالمي وللأعمال الإنسانية معروف، وحتى قبل الحرب اليمنية. ولكن ما الذي دعا الأمم المتحدة وخاصة مارك لوكوك إلى الانفراد بذكر الإمارات والسعودية، خاصة وأنكم دفعتوا مبلغ يفوق 400 مليون هذا العام فقط؟ لماذا حددكم؟ هل هي بسبب النسبة بين ما تعهدتم بدفعه وما دفعتوه حتى الآن أم ماذا؟
ربما تكون بسبب النسبة، لكن أحيلك في هذا السؤال إلى السيد مارك لوكوك. لكن أذكرك وأذكر الجميع بأن السيد مارك لوكوك نفسه تحدث عن أن التعاون بين وكالة الأمم المتحدة للأعمال الإنسانية وبين المملكة العربية السعودية والإمارات العربية المتحدة is a model cooperation that can be and should be reproduced elsewhere in the world. تحدث السيد مارك لوكوك في اجتماع سابق عن أن المملكة العربية السعودية والإمارات العربية المتحدة هما الدولتان الوحيدتان اللتان أوفتا بجميع التزاماتهما في ذلك الوقت في عام 2018 للأمم المتحدة. حتى لو كانت النسبة ضئيلة من إجمالي ما تم التبرع به، فإن المبلغ الذي تم فعلا دفعه يفوق أكثر دولة تلينا في الترتيب في التبرع لليمن.
لماذا هذا الموقف من الأمم المتحدة؟
يسأل السيد لوكوك.
Ambassador Michelle from Reuters. Apologies if you've just answered this question in Arabic. I don't speak Arabic. Just to say again, Mark Lowcock did call on all donors to pay up in full, and the UN figures show that The UAE has paid 195. Saudi has paid 121, according to the UN figures, of 750 that both countries pledged separately. So he basically specifically sort of called you both out to say the two biggest donors haven't paid up. So we'd like a response to that. And just on Iran, do you think
let me address that. But we have also paid 320 to the WFP. We have paid 20 million to WHO. We have paid other funds for other organizations. So what we pay for Yemen is not limited through what goes through OCHA. I understand Mr. Lowcock speaks only for OCHA, but if you take what we have paid for Yemen this year, it is far in excess of the next largest donor, all combined.
And sorry, I just had another question, if the UAE representative would like to comment as well. But on Iran, Minister Zarif is here this week. There's no sign of tensions de-escalating. Do you think that the Secretary General should maybe get involved to try and de-escalate tensions?
Well, the Secretary General is involved anyway. He's involved in all issues that affect peace and security in the world.
And what about the withdrawal of the UAE from the Yemen war? How is that going to affect the Syrian cause in Yemen?
I give that to the representative of the UAE.
Can you repeat the question, please?
The withdrawal of UAE from the Yemen war, how is that going to affect the Saudi position in Yemen?
So that is yet to be...
If we could get a response on the money as well.
Sorry, which money?
The fact that Lowcock was calling out UAE as well.
Again, I mean, the ambassador to Saudi Arabia answered that question, and then it remains an OCHA question, and then there is the other issue, which the fragmentation within the UN. We are talking about the Yemen in general, so you have to see all contributions going from the UAE to Yemen, regardless of which lens. Is it an OCHA lens, WFP, or WHO? So look at the bigger picture here, and that's what's important. Regarding the other question, to be honest, we are coming up with a statement on that, hopefully, and we will try to address all of those questions. As of yet, I have no comments on that.
A statement on what?
On the withdrawal.
When are you withdrawing?
On those questions.
Okay, and what's the statement going to say?
So that's what I just told you. When it comes out.
Undoubtedly, China's spent a lot on development in Xinjiang, as you mentioned, but you don't see it as a concern that they're holding up to 1 million people in a camp without a trial? It's not a humanitarian issue? UAE and Saudi Arabia both said
I was just addressing your question on the letter. The letter said that we appreciate the developmental work that is taking place in China, which is lifting hundreds of millions of people out of poverty.
The issue is how they're dealing
Yes?
with counterterrorism.
Just as a follow-up to that, some countries have been a little critical, though, that Saudi Arabia signed that letter, given that most of these people who are in these centres are Muslim. What would you say to that?
Well, again, I will repeat the same thing that I have said. The letter talks about China's developmental work. That's all it talks about. It does not address anything else.
So does Saudi Arabia have a
All right,
comment on the fact that they're holding...
The ambassador of Bahrain today reportedly met with the foreign minister of Bahrain reportedly met today with the foreign minister of Israel in Washington. Will you do the same? Will your foreign minister do the same?
The deputy PR of Bahrain is here.
As of your foreign minister.
No, the answer is no.
The letter also says that you confirm. The letter says that human rights are safeguarded for ethnic minorities in China through these policies.
I'm sorry, he's answering a question
here. There was a short meeting, but His Excellency the Foreign Minister was there on an invitation for a ministerial meeting in Washington. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Is that the final amount you're going to give to the UN this year, 400 million? No, you haven't fulfilled the whole pledge for OCHA?